Morning. Welcome to this ETIP Bioenergy Working Group Updates Info session. My name is Maurizio Cocchi, and together with my colleague Birger Kerkhoff, today we will present some updates from the ETIP Bioenergy Working Groups and some of the latest topics discussed. This comes immediately after the presentation in the plenary session by Patrick Klingborn, who will join us soon. Hello, Patrick.
Hello.
Before I leave the floor and introduce my colleague, just a few technicalities. Your microphones are muted. You can use the question and answer panel for typing questions. We can either reply by typing or during the question and answer section later. If you want to speak, you can raise your hands and someone will open up your microphone. And with this, I leave the floor to my colleague Birger Kerkhoff from FNR. And Birger, the floor is yours.
Hello to everybody. Hello, good afternoon. So welcome to this 50-minute session presenting working groups of the European Technology and Innovation Platform Bioenergy. But before we come to the working groups, actually we will start with a presentation by the chair of the steering committee of ETIP Bioenergy, Patrick Klingborn. So Patrick, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Birger. Great to be here. I just jumped from the plenary, so I will try to share a screen. So I have a very short presentation. Do you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It works. I will talk about the Green Deal and also the set plan updates. I will not keep you too long, and then we will focus on, of course, the important work that is done in the working groups of the ETIP Bioenergy. The Green Deal is really promising, and I think we just had a plenary, and yesterday you also heard a lot of interesting information. It was presented last year, and basically the Green Deal will be the overarching strategy for, let's say, a growth strategy for Europe that is also in line with nature and with the, let's say, sustainable development. And it provides us with a roadmap with actions to boost the efficient use of resources, and also provide a clean and circular economy, stop climate change, revert biodiversity loss, and cut pollution. So for us in ETIP Bioenergy, the Green Deal is really a central, let's say, initiative that we very much appreciate, and we work towards contributing from our side on that. It covers all sectors of the economy. There is significant investments needed here, 260 billion euro each year from the public and private sector mainly. And I also said this in the earlier presentation today, but looking at the Green Deal and any possible scenario that is within, let's say, a Green Deal frame requires a lot of sustainable biomass. So I think bioenergy and biomass is really central to the Green Deal, and we are doing what we can to really inform on a, let's say, scientific basis how sustainable biomass and bioenergy can provide a significant solution to parts of the targets in the Green Deal. Below you have the trajectory going forward in the Green Deal. So coming over to the set plan, which is something that ETIP Bioenergy has been very much part of building. There are so-called implementation plans for a number of areas in the set plan, and we in ETIP Bioenergy have been part of establishing the Action 8 renewable fuels and bioenergy. And the objective here is to decarbonize the energy system and the transport sector by making these technologies cost-effective and better performing. And the set plan has been around a long time before there was any talk about the Green Deal, and now, of course, the set plan is, let's say, being a Green Deal approved. So it's also a central part of the Green Deal. There's a lot of investments needed in research and innovation activities, a total of 107 billion euros. This from the implementation working plan, the implementation plan of the IBG8. A number of areas, and the biggest area here is advanced liquid and gaseous biofuels that requires around 70 billion euros of the 107 that I mentioned above. So yeah, a lot of activities for scaling up and getting these technologies to the market, to deploy them in the market. In order to drive the set plan, also a number of stakeholders that are active in ETIP Bioenergy has come together in a project called Set4Bio. I also like to highlight this project here. It's a coordinating support action financed by the European Commission. It has a three-year, it will be running, and it's 6 partners from 6 countries. You see the partners here. We have Sintef in Norway with a connection to ERA. We have VTT in Finland, FNR in Germany, ETA Florence in Italy, and CIRSE in Spain. And then RISE, where I'm working, and I'm also the coordinator of this project. We are coordinating it. We have a really good and strong partners in this project to drive the Set4Bio project. Some of the expected outcomes that we have here is we will provide a funding and financing roadmap, and also at the moment we are looking at what is the most efficient way to fund the sector, and we're looking at different member countries and see how are they doing it, and then we will try to find the most effective way and also give recommendations. And also it's about public funding and also the private sector funding. We will have an innovation challenge and also matchmaking to drive the sector. I will talk a little bit more about innovation challenge. And then we will strive to bridge the gap between research, innovation, and industry application. And that will be done by working together, researchers and industry, to make sure that we are doing, let's say, research-based and also real, let's say, industry applications that is valid in the real world, not just on paper. And also we will drive industry commitment by approaching industry and also in the innovation challenges and other to really activate industry. And then in the end, a joint action plan. And then you have the social media connections here for the project. This is a very busy slide, sorry for that, but the slide will be provided to you later. So you will have it, so you don't need to read or write everything down at the moment. We will have an innovation challenge in Set4Bio, and that is to increase the rate of innovation, and also raise the level of creativity. And this will provide a platform to an arena to highlight, disseminate, and discuss the challenges, and also attract the stakeholders that can, let's say, innovate and really come to great ideas within the bioenergy sector. So it will be a challenge that is starting in November this year with engagement and selections, and then we will have in the beginning of next year we will start this innovation challenge and look at it will be a challenge that will be a coaching event, and also to help industries and consortia to frame their let's say ideas within this sector, and we are framing it also in the value chains that we have in ETIP Bioenergy that you have here on the left side. So, and more will be announced with regards to the innovation challenge, but here you have the overall timing where industry and others can participate in the innovation challenge. Final words. The EU Green Deal holds great promise. I believe that bioenergy is a vital part, and we need to provide the facts and also to get the discussion right, because sometimes the discussion is really, let's say, biased and it's not good discussion. Renewable transport fuels, including biofuels, is a key measure for also immediate effect in the existing transport fleet. And also Set for Bio is here to realize the set plan action 8. But it can't be done without action from all stakeholders. So I encourage everyone to get involved, and also I think together we can do a lot. No one can do it alone. And then, yeah, we will provide more information later on the more, let's say, details on the innovation challenge within the project of Set for Bio. So with that, I would like to say thank you, and now leave over to Mauricio and Birger again, and also to the working groups. Thank you, and welcome to this event, of course. Okay.
Thank you, Patrick, for this nice overview with a focus on the Green Deal and the set plan updates. Well, key aim you mentioned is, well, getting technologies to the market. And to achieve this, I think it's important also to obtain an overview about the current status of advanced biodemonstrations in the European Union. And that will be the main title of the presentation of Dina Barczowski from BEST Bioenergy and Sustainable Technologies Austria, and chair of Working Group 2 of ETIP Bioenergy Conversion Technologies. Please, Dina, you have the floor.
Thank you, Birger. So I need to start sharing my screen here.
Perfect.
Does this work for you already?
Yes.
You could model better. We can see it.
Okay. I'm glad to speak to you today and to present a recent piece of work that I've been leading with the great support of all the Working Group 2 members. So Working Group 2 is on conversion technologies, and this is the status of advanced biofuel demonstrations in the European Union. I'm operating and maintaining a database on such demonstrations worldwide already for around 10 years. And while it has become much easier to find information nowadays, what remains crucial is to verify which projects are real projects, which projects are still ongoing, and which are probably not pursued anymore. And so it is very, very helpful to do this together with a group of experts who are all really well known in their own fields and can help me to verify all these projects. So we published earlier this year a summary of the advanced biofuels demonstrations, and it is focused on transport biofuels. So from the priority value chains that ETIP Bioenergy has defined, and which you can see in the right-hand side of this picture, we focused on those that deliver transport biofuels. So this is gasification, pyrolytic and thermolytic conversion, alcohols from cellulosic sugars, and hydrocarbon fuels from sugars and alcohols. And then we found that there is still further facilities out there which also can produce advanced biofuels, but which cannot be categorized into one of these priority value chains. So we included those as well. And as I just have a few minutes here, I can just give you a glimpse of all of this. So the European production capacity for advanced biofuels at the moment is around 360,000 tons per year. These are the operational facilities. There's another around 150,000 tons per year under construction at the moment, and almost 1.8 million tons per year planned. And you can see here the importance of the different value chains. So for the existing ones, we do have a lot of pyrolysis and alcohol from cellulosic sugars. And we also have tall oil diesel and the methanol production capacity of the BioMCN facility that produces or is capable of producing methanol from crude glycerin. We expect a lot of cellulosic ethanol facilities to come online and further pyrolysis facilities. And then for the plant, we have two very large groups. One is the methanol via gasification up here, and the other large group is just one facility planned by UPM on tall oil diesel. And also you can see here again a very large part of cellulosic alcohol production that we are expecting to come online. I have another representation of the same data here. So here it is split by the different transport fuels and the different technology pathways. And the light green is planned facilities, and the medium green is under construction, and the dark green is operational facilities. So you can see that the main fuels at the moment is pyrolysis oil and ethanol. And also, of course, we see the tall oil diesel production, which is really prominent at the moment. I've put some details into the picture. So the large planned gasification facilities all aim for the production of methanol. And then we can see that BTG, BTL has the main share in pyrolysis oil projects. For hydrothermal liquefaction, we just have silver green fuel, and for lignin depolymerization, it is only Ren fuel. We have three main technology providers, but many more for the cellulosic ethanol. So we have Clariant, CCAP, and ST1. The hydrocarbon fuels from sugars and alcohols is mainly isobutene production by Global Bioenergies, and EcoBenz produces a substitute for gasoline. And then on the very right side, the other technologies, this is the tall oil diesel by UPM, but it is also a couple of ST1 facilities that produce ethanol from a range of waste materials, including sawdust, which is planned. And also here we had the chance to, for example, put ArcelorMittal with their fermentation of flue gas, of CO2 with fossil origin, actually. So all of this is published in a report, which is available on the ETIP Bioenergy website. And I would like to thank all the Working Group 2 members for their support in pulling this together. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dina. Thank you also for keeping the time and providing a nice overview about where we stand with the different priority value chains. Well, some were the products of the conversion facilities have to go, and so we move then to the area of end use and distribution of advanced biofuels, which is the main aim of Working Group 3 of ETIP Bioenergy about markets and end use. And we are very happy to have Philippe Marchand here, a senior biofuel expert, but who has spent most of his professional life with a major French oil company. So Philippe, the floor is yours to talk about current challenges and research priorities, please.
Thank you, Birger, and good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see that there are many people attending this session. Now, working group number 3, as Birger has said, is about distribution and end use. And the main activity for this year is to publish an orientation paper that will help DG Research to imagine what could be the key areas in this particular area, distribution and end use, for the biofuels. Now, I've made a short presentation. The first slide is about what is the context of this working group. The members we have in the group is mostly OEMs, like the car industry and the truck industry, and of course research centers and people dealing with research and innovation. Now, the context, the drivers. The transport carbon footprint reduction today in Europe relies on two regulations that are distinct and complementary. One set of regulations is on vehicles, so that's what we call tank to wheel, and mostly aiming at improving the equipment energy efficiency, like a number of miles you can drive out of a liter of gasoline, for instance. And on fuels, what we call well to tank, it's mostly aiming at reducing the fossil carbon content of the energy carrier, therefore the emissions. Now, in the working group 3, what we want is to identify the research and innovation areas in bioenergy that will maximize the synergies that are developed or that are looked at for those two separate regulations. Indeed, trying to reconcile those two areas into one single approach, which we call well to will, that will try to maximize the benefits. So for that, and that's the importance of having the OEMs with us in this group, we need a lot of sharing and coherence, consistency with the roadmaps and strategies that the end use and the vehicle manufacturers associations like AirTrack are developing on their own and have been developing for many years. So that's the first point, is consistency and coherence. We cannot send a message towards what is the key research and innovation if it's not supported by the end user. The second important key aspect is the fact that there is a sense of urgency today. The Renewable Energy Directive target for 2030 is calling for 14% renewables in transport, whereas the previous Renewable Energy Directive was calling for 10% in 2020, this year. So we still have a major gap to bridge, because there is also this cap of 7% for first generation biofuels. So urgency and consistency of the two key words here. So Maurizio, if you can move to the next slide, please. So what are the key areas we're going to develop in this orientation paper? So identifying the key challenges for research and innovation. Now, for road transport, first we are saying beyond E10 and B7. E10 is the main grade in Europe and for gasoline, and B7 for diesel, which stands for 10% ethanol in gasoline and 7% FAME in diesel. So really, we believe there should be a clear focus on the drop-in biomolecules to maximize the universal acceptability of biofuels in existing engines, therefore minimizing the impact on engine and infrastructures. It is a fact that even though electric vehicles are developing at a fast pace, it is true as well that there are ideas, breakthrough ideas like using hydrogen, but still we have hundreds of millions of cars and trucks that are driving in Europe and that use internal combustion engines. And they are not going to disappear all of a sudden by a magic wand. They will still be around for many years. So if we can find biomolecules that can be used in those internal combustion engines without any modification at all, it's perfect to make sure that the carbon footprint of transport in road is reducing. The second point is, of course, within these existing engine technologies, can we find a way to maximize ethanol and FAME incorporation with minimum consequences in terms of equipment modification and logistics? So those are the key issues. And alongside those lines, of course, beyond the oxygenated molecules, ethanol and FAME, we also need to make sure that the incorporation of renewable hydrocarbons, this drop-in biomolecules should be maximized either through processes, like, for instance, developing co-processing in oil refineries, developing the use of bionaphtha in oil refineries, and of course, things that are using biomass, or also using truly, maximizing the use of truly drop-in biomolecules like renewable diesel, HVO. And of course, also considering other oxygenated biomolecules beyond ethanol, like butanol, like ethers, etc., etc. This is for road transport, and road transport is, of course, the most significant player in transport when it comes to emissions. But we should not forget air transport and shipping. Now, as far as air transport is concerned, there are already a number, it's close to 10 sustainable aviation fuel pathways that have been certified on a worldwide basis. So therefore to be used in any plane and anywhere in the world. But of course, unfortunately, they have not been developed towards commercial production to a significant extent as of today, because the lack of a stable and universal regulation for that. So the question we're asking ourselves is whether we should try to help bring those certified pathways towards commercial usage, and is that the priority? Or should we try to find new pathways that are under development for the time being? So that's a question we have not answered yet, but that we'll obviously ask to DG Research. And for shipping, shipping enjoys a lot of different possibilities, alternative fuels, like methanol, for instance, that Dina talked about earlier on, like natural gas, and of course natural gas can be also biogas, electricity, of course, renewable electricity, but of course biofuels can play a role and are playing a role, because we have the benefit in Europe of having one company, which is called Good Fuels, that has been developing those biofuels for commercial usage and is developing those fuels as of today. So what we want to make sure in terms of research and development is that biofuels will remain a readily available and practical solution for the marine sector. And whatever is to be done in research and innovation should be done to make sure that biofuels stay on this landscape. So in short, that's what we're going to try to do in the next few months to finalize this orientation paper and deliver before the end of the year to DG Research, so that, of course, it can be also part of programs like Horizon Europe that is starting next year.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you very much, Philippe, for this nice overview. Finally, what are the main markets and what also the requirements of the different markets, which is important for anybody who intends to invest in advanced biofuel technologies. Well, investment needs have been also mentioned by Patrick before, and so we move now to another area, which is covered by Working Group 4 of ETIP Bioenergy, Policy and Sustainability. And the topic of the next short presentation is bioenergy and advanced biofuels in the EU Sustainable Finance Taxonomy. And we are very happy to have Uwe Fritsche from the International Institute for Sustainability Analysis and Strategy in Darmstadt to provide us a brief overview. Please, Uwe, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm trying to start my screen sharing. Let's see if that works. I hope. I hope you can see it now.
Yes.
Very good. So I will very briefly talk about that issue of the taxonomy, which may be quite new for most of you, but it's quite important in the meantime, especially regarding investments in advanced biofuels and bioenergy in general. You all know that there is a lot of confusion out there, what the sustainable bioeconomy, what sustainable biofuels, what sustainable bioenergy is. And the taxonomy is the one approach, not only targeting the bioenergy, targeting all of the economy in Europe as part of the Green Deal discussion, to make it more coherent and consistent. What is it that we call sustainable investments? So to reduce the noise, if you may say so. So the European Commission, the Directorate General FISMA, which is on financial action, they had an action plan, and that contained the regulatory framework for the taxonomy. What the taxonomy is, I will tell you in a moment. Importantly, from this framework, there will be delegated acts which actually specify criteria, and that is especially sustainable criteria, for investments which are then deemed to be sustainable. And this regulation is in force, and the delegated acts will become operational and mandatory in about 2.5 years. So that's why we say this is for the Sustainability Working Group 4 in ETIP, something to be involved, and we will not be the only ones, sure, but we should have a say here. So the taxonomy basically is a list of activities which are in the future will be then considered environmentally sustainable, and these investments contribute to the objectives as they are defined in the regulation, and they will do no significant harm to other objectives, which are not only environmental, they are also social. And there is a minimum set of safeguards to be met. And basically the taxonomy aims to achieve the Paris Agreement without implying negative impacts on other objectives. And it concerns 3 major areas. So who is actually subject of the taxonomy? First of all, it's participants in financial markets. Second, it's large companies who provide information about what they're doing. And last but not least, it's member states and their public policies, especially regarding labels, standards, green public procurement, and so forth. So for bioenergy, mainly number 2, the companies and the member states' public financing and green bonds are relevant. If you want to know any detail, take a look to the technical report from the Technical Expert Group on Sustainable Finance, which came out in March this year. You see down there, there's a link to download it. And I will only show you 2 slides regarding this report. And that is what is concerned, what is actually addressed in the screening criteria to become sustainable from a finance perspective. It is everything which has to do with forests, but also with agriculture. If you grow perennial or non-perennial crops, then you are subject to the taxonomy and respective criteria. And if you look to the production of electricity from bioenergy or any kind, including biofuels, and the manufacturing of exactly those energy carriers. So the whole supply chain of bioenergy is actually subject to that. And in the moment, there is a talk about bioheat as well, another significant market. So the taxonomy will have a huge implication on the financing of everything we're talking about in ETIP. And I guess that's for you to just digest and accept and be involved in the further activity. Some people argue this is just impossible to have a taxonomy like that. Well, let's see, it will be done in the next 2 years and we can be part of that. So I agree with Nelson Mandela that it should be an interesting journey. If you like to know more about not only the ETIP, but especially ETIP Bioenergy, where I come from, we're also working towards sustainable finance logics. Here's my contact and so forth. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much, Uwe, also for keeping even below the time. Yeah. Well, all our activities start actually with feedstock, and there's always the questions: do we have sufficient sustainable feedstock in Europe for all this bioenergy and biofuels? And that's the main topic of Working Group 1, which is chaired by Calliope Panuzzo from Imperial College London, and so I'm happy to give the floor to Poppy now. Please.
Thank you very much, Birger. As mentioned from the beginning, we work on sustainable biomass supply and logistics together with my co-chair, Perttu Anttila from Looking Finland. We have already online a paper which covers the first approach for the opportunities to broaden biomass feedstock supply. As many speakers during the first couple of days of the EUBCE have stressed out, there are high aspirations for sustainable biomass supply. So far, a lot of effort has gone into the typology of the feedstocks, their regional coverage, their presence. Within the working group, we tried last year with the paper we have, but also are trying this year to focus on the practices, on the good practices, you can call them sustainable practices, that can actually facilitate broadening biomass supply. And we aim this year to have a matching working paper complementing the one we have already done on these good practices, and also have it in time to have a first discussion with focus groups and co-design the recommendations. Next slide, please. So a few indicative ones, opportunities from the farming practices, like avoid leaving soil bare to limit carbon losses, cover crops, restoring soils. We've heard a lot about unused, degraded, abandoned land. Introducing species with the ability to fix nitrogen in the soil and facilitate carbon soil, like grassy crops, cover crops, rotational crops, and also use manure and compost to nourish the soil with initiatives such as biogas and biochar. Next slide, please. In the forestry sector, work with enabling technologies like digitalization, big data, sensor technology to improve the harvest and logistics and efficiency of supply. Ensure there's integration to operational value chains through harvesting of residues and main products, or multiple use machines to alleviate the seasonal fluctuations in the harvesting and the moisture. Access difficult terrains like steep slopes, peatlands, etc., and also provide some technical solutions for sensitive environmental ecosystems like dry arid South Europe, which has increased risk of fires, areas with flooding problems, and other forest ecosystems you can find in Europe. As I mentioned, we will aim to map these good practices and understand basically the level of their maturity. Some of them might be still on research level, some of them might have moved to demonstration, piloting, and some might be commercial. So we will try to group them and see the level of maturity within Europe to bring forward these opportunities and go hand in hand to supply the industry with the raw material, ensure security year-round, cost efficiency, and of course, as a result, meet the high targets that are required for low carbon to 2030 and zero carbon to 2050. That was all from my side. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Poppy. I think now we have obtained a very nice overview of complete value chains from primary production, about conversion to end use, but also the framework conditions. And I would now like to hand over to Maurizio Corti for the question and answer session.
Thank you all. Thank you to all the panelists for keeping your timing. I renew the invitation to all the attendees. If you want to send questions, please use the question and answer panel. I would like to ask an open question to all the panelists. What you presented gives a complete overview of all the different activities that are being carried out by the long-established experience as individual biomass experts, but also and particularly as the result of the collaborative work that you have inside the working groups, each working group of the platform. So I would like to ask you, what are the benefits that you have as biomass experts to be active members of the platform? How does it complement your work? You are all these persons. And what do you think is the benefit, the main benefit of being active in the platform? I repeat that the platform is independent and relies on the voluntary work of its active members. Who wants to reply?
I can start if you want.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so to keep it short, I may be still naive, especially in this world that is full of fake news, but I still believe that good and non-controversial information is the way to provide a good education about any subject. And unfortunately, biofuels have been the object of a lot of misconception brought by the media, by some environmental NGO, etc., etc. It's a fact that we have to correct those misconceptions if we want biomass to play the role that we've heard about in the last 2 days for the future of a Europe that is a bit more green than it is today. And for that, we need good science. And I think the role of ETIP Bioenergy is to help DG Research to call for this good science to be developed, part of research and innovation, so that we can end up getting all this solid, non-controversial information that will help make sure that biomass can play its normal role in our future. In short, that's it.
Thank you, Philippe. Very clear. Any other topic? What's your take?
Yeah, I can say in brief, I will fully support what Philippe just mentioned. Also, it is an excellent forum where you can bring forward evidence, new evidence from research, from discussions, from ongoing initiatives, and it's very good because it has a long-term and very consistent collaborative spirit into it. It builds across the value chain, touches on the market, across the system sustainability, and also it initiates and facilitates and further transfers messages, views, opinions, and creates interesting discussions. So I think altogether it's a very good opportunity for all of us to learn and to also present our views and our research work.
Thank you. Thank you. I see in the meantime Uwe raised his hand.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add to what the previous speakers mentioned without replicating, I think the ETIP has also a challenge from the sustainability point of view. That is not a kind of a science project. There is no evidence on sustainable issues, yes, but we need to consider a societal dialogue. So I think the inclusion of at least parts of civil society is something we should improve on and encourage people to see, hey, this is actually an opportunity to exchange views, possibly to improve also on joint perspectives. So instead of this confrontation to say, here's the best information, you are wrong, I think we should start more this dialogue type of thing. We're trying this in IEA Bioenergy. It's a slow process, right? It takes a long breath. It's like a marathon. But once you start, I think we can improve. So I think the invitation should also go out at least to selected participants, and we should find formats which allow a trustful communication. Then and only then, I guess, we can go ahead with a more coherent perspective on sustainable bioenergy. At least the less controversial one. Thank you, Uwe.
Dina? see your microphone.
So much has been said already, and I would like to support all the statements that have been made so far. For me, it's also the case that I really very much enjoy being directly in touch with all the other technology providers, being able to discuss new developments with them. It also directly feeds into my day-to-day work. And I think if we feel that some information is missing for the outside, we just set up a webinar which is public, and then others can come in and join us and learn from the best technology providers and the best people in academia, which we have in the European Union, all the details about the technologies that are out there. And so I think the benefit for anybody joining the ETIP Bioenergy and the working groups is to be informed, to also shape what we feel are those R&D needs that we have and communicate that to Commission, and also just to be visible among the others.
Thank you. Perfect. You gave a very good, positive message, and this is my call to action also to our attendees. If you feel that you can contribute to the activities of the platform, get in contact with us through the Secretariat, through FNR, Birger Kerkhoff here representing, and we will be happy to give you more instructions how you can support the work of the platform. Are there any other comments from the panelists? Any final remarks from Patrick? Otherwise, I leave the floor to Birger for final conclusions.
I can comment shortly, Patrick. I think a lot of comments from all of the working group leaders here. And of course, dialogue with that is based on, let's say, facts, and that is also the strength here, that we are many stakeholders from a lot of different areas, and of course, I also agree with Uwe. We need to reach out even more to discuss when we have established, let's say, facts, and also provided information. That we have a lot of information on the webpage, for example. It's a very good basis for a deepened discussion throughout, also with civil society and so on. So that needs to be done, and it's a slow process, I agree, but we must do that. So thank you to everyone. I will leave over to you, Mauricio and Birger.
Thank you. In the meantime, I received some messages that probably my sound is poor. I apologize for this. I hope you could hear me enough good for during the question and answers. I have no further comments from my side. I would like to thank everybody. Birger, do you have any final words?
Well, yeah, I can also thank everybody. I think it was a nice session to give a good overview about what ETIP Bioenergy is actually doing. And I think, well, to go more in depth, please visit our website. And well, as Uwe suggested, I think we are very open to a dialogue with everybody. And well, we are fully aware that, let's say, public perception, public acceptance, it's a key issue for bioenergy and for actually for all kind of economic activities these days and all renewable energies. So we are really open to this, and I encourage everybody also to participate in this process and to engage in this process. So I think we are more or less on time. So I would like to conclude the session. Well, thank you to ETO for organizing this event, and thank you to everybody, to the speakers and to the audience for the past hour. And I wish you a nice afternoon and probably also still interesting presentations and discussions in the e-EUBCE of this year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your kind availability. Bye-bye, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.